The Middle East has a long and rich history dating back to the kings and queens of old, and there was a time when the rest of the world came here to trade both goods, services, and philosophies. Cut to today, though, and many Middle Eastern countries are now looking to the sky, building higher than ever before. Multi-billion-dollar projects are happening every day. So now here are the 15 biggest megaprojects in the Middle East. Number 15. Abraj Khudai. Kicking off this extravagant list is the Abraj Khudai in Mecca, Saudi Arabia. And while it's still under construction, the Abraj Khudai is said to be the largest hotel in the world. More of a complex than a singular hotel, the Abraj Khudai is said to be a ring of 12 towers covering almost 11 million square feet, all 45 stories high and with a total of 10,000 bedrooms. At this point, the hotel could probably be its own city, but that's not all. The plans for the most extravagant hotel the world has ever seen also include 70 restaurants and even 4 rooftop helipads. And then there are the 5 floors that will be built exclusively for the private use of the Saudi royal family. And while the odds of hotel guests rubbing shoulders with the royalty are slim to none, just knowing you're in the same building should make you feel like you're a king or a queen for a day. 10 out of the 12 towers will provide 4-star accommodations, but if you've got the cash, the other 2 towers will provide guests with 5-star accommodations and amenities. And while all of this sounds amazing, the project has run into a few speed bumps, mainly financial, as the estimated costs are closer to $4 billion. But seeing as how the location is revered by many as one of the holiest places in the world, when the Abraj Khudai is finally finished, it could potentially see millions of guests a year. Number 14. The Burj Khalifa. Dubai is an interesting city, and it would seem that the powers that be there have created it to show off their engineering prowess and money to the rest of the world. And say what you will about it, but the Burj Khalifa is one of the most impressive feats of engineering probably of all time. The Burj Khalifa was actually inspired by the Empire State Building, and $1.5 billion later stands at an amazing 2,719 feet tall. Construction began in 2004 and ended in 2010. It's also the tallest building in the world currently, and it doesn't seem like anyone is going to be able to top that anytime soon. It's almost 1,000 feet taller than the world's next tallest building. The Burj Khalifa has a shamrock-shaped base to give it a maximum support and a perfect view from just about anywhere inside the building. But what's truly wild is that once construction started, the engineering and construction teams were able to build at a rate of 30 floors in less than a year. Number 13. Alulas Journey Through Time. In 2021, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, announced one of the country's most ambitious projects yet. He wants to show tourists the country's roots and take them on a journey through time, literally. The prince's journey through time has its eyes set on the old city of Al-Ula, a gorgeous locale with many of the buildings not just carved out of stone, but carved right into stone as well. Prince Salman hopes to turn the old city into what he calls a living museum, showing travelers his country's history for the last 200,000 years. The entire project is estimated to cost a whopping $15 billion. But by turning the area into a global destination for tourists, Saudi Arabia hopes to attract roughly 2 million visitors a year to rake in another $32 billion into their economy. The key part of this mega project, however, is to create a sustainable environment with low-carbon tram line connecting Al-Ula's 5 districts, running along the same routes the pilgrims and traders used for hundreds of years. The journey through time has all the markings of an awesome mega project. Number 12. Darya Gate. Another mega project from the collective mind of Saudi Arabian royalty and city planners is the Darya Gate. The project has already been dubbed the Pearl of Saudi Arabia and is another attempt at bringing in tourists and all of their cold hard cash. Darya Gate is right outside of Riyadh and has a hefty price tag of $17 billion already. The area is home to old homes made of mud bricks and dates back all the way to the 15th century, and so the multi-billion-dollar plan is to add luxury resorts with all of the biggest hotel names and another 100 dining and entertainment attractions. It's not quite out with the old and in with the new, but rather enjoy the old while experiencing the new. This has the potential to become a huge travel and business hub, just like it was all those years ago, perhaps with a bit more panache and flash this time around. Number 11. Kabla Road Rehabilitation, Kuwait. Not all megaprojects have to be fancy schmancy though, because what good is a multi-billion-dollar district if there are no roads? Kuwait is working on their Kabla Road rehabilitation, which is costing them a hefty fee of well over $1 billion. The country's public authority of roads and land transport doled out the big budget contract at the beginning of 2021, with the goal of constructing a number of maintenance and service roads of the always busy Kabla Sulaibiya Road. But with all of the bureaucracy behind this big overhaul, the work itself isn't set to begin until 2023, once all of the regulatory approvals are in. Hopefully, just like the roads themselves, they'll be able to smooth everything out. This rehabilitation should only take about 2 years to complete, and it may not be so glamorous, but in the end, all roads need to lead somewhere. Number 10. Bahrain International Airport. It would seem that everybody these days wants to overhaul their airports, and with Qatar's Doha International Airport easily being the best airport in the Middle East, it's easy to see why some other countries would want to keep up. Bahrain is another Middle Eastern country or kingdom with their sights set on international travelers, so they've injected a good $1.1 billion into the Bahrain International Airport. This megaproject is actually one of the kingdom's biggest infrastructure projects to date. The new terminal will bring the rest of the airport up to speed with a capacity for 14 million passengers annually. They're looking at an additional 104 check-in counters, 36 passport control booths, and 24 screening points. Oh, and the new terminal building is 4 times the size of the already existing passenger terminal. It's going to be absolutely epic, with people all over the world who will be adding the Kingdom of Bahrain to their bucket lists. Number 9. Deep Dive Dubai. When it comes to big and extreme things, all roads tend to lead back to Dubai. They love to show off the biggest this or the tallest that. It's one flashy place, and their indoor pools are no exception. So if you're looking for a really deep dive, then look no further than Deep Dive Dubai. The 196-foot deep pool set the Guinness World Record for the deepest indoor pool when it opened. And it holds 14 million liters of water, so it is safe to say that this is by no means a casual pool. If you're coming here, then you're in full diving gear to explore what's known as the Sunken City. And they're not kidding, because the deeper you go, the more it looks like an urban sprawl that's been completely overtaken by the sea, with fake buildings, cars, and rooms that look once lived in. With that much water, though, Deep Dive Dubai sounds pretty tough to clean. Luckily for them, though, the pool's filtration system circulates the water every 6 hours through natural volcanic rock, UV radiation, and even filter technology especially developed by NASA. Number 8. The beachfront at Jebel Sifa. A lot of times when you think of Middle East, your mind goes straight to the desert. And while that may be true for much of the region, every desert still has an oasis, which is exactly what the beachfront in Jebel Sifa is. Located in the country of Oman, the beachfront is exactly what it sounds like. Extravagant beachfront development originally due for completion at the end of 2021. The development began in phases, with Phase 1 being so successful and lucrative that Phase 2 was able to go right ahead on schedule. As it stands, 118 units, which is 90% of the living accommodations, have already been sold. But what exactly is so great about this mega project in Oman? Well, for starters, there's the location. Sure, you're overlooking the sky-blue waters of the Arabian Sea, but Jebel Sifa also sits right between the Al-Hajar Mountains, a mountain range that feels older than time itself. The beachfront also offers a golf course, a marina with space for not just yachts, but super yachts, a hotel on the top of the residences, and of course an entertainment district. The beachfront may be an incredibly ambitious mega project, but it's already proven to be exactly what the people want. Number 7. The Red Sea Project. Right between the coastal cities of Luj and Al-Waj in Saudi Arabia is the site of an absurdly large $10 billion mega project, the Red Sea Project. And this is a big one. Initially announced in 2017, the Red Sea Project is set for completion in 2030. Another tourist grab, the Red Sea Project will be a luxury mixed-use resort spanning an archipelago of islands in, you guessed it, the Red Sea. And it looks absolutely stunning, to say the least. The entire region will span nearly 12,000 square miles, which is also home to a dormant volcano. And seeing as how the desert tends to be warm all the time, the luxury archipelago will be available for visitors year-round. expected to bring in almost $6 billion a year. But just because it's all on water doesn't mean that you'll need to wait for a boat to take you out there, because the Red Sea project will include its own airport too. As it stands, the location incorporates a coastline untouched by modern man, which is home to all sorts of archaeological sites important to Saudi Arabian history and culture, which visitors will be able to appreciate from a respectful distance. And just because the Red Sea Project's hotels will hold a total of 8,000 rooms doesn't mean the area needs to suffer from human activity. The developers here are working hard to make the resort sustainable with a zero waste to landfill policy, 100% carbon neutrality, and a ban on single-use plastics. Hopefully, unlike the volcano, the Red Sea Project will erupt with a nice cash flow. Number 6. Amala. Another awesome-looking mega-project coming from Saudi Arabia is Amala. Also along the coast of the Red Sea, Amala is another soon-to-be tourist destination. This development will encompass 1,800 hotel rooms and another 900 private villas on the water. Combine those accommodations with another 200 shops and restaurants and you're looking at an entire city dedicated to high-end travelers. But Amala hopes to be more than just a consumer cash grab. Amala will also have an Academy of the Arts to nurture not only the future artists and innovators of Saudi Arabia, but the Middle East at large. There will be a lot to enjoy at Amala, and anytime a country invests in its youth, they're headed on the right path. The new luxury site is going to be huge, spanning more than 1,100 square miles, and something that ambitious is going to cost a pretty penny, with the first phase of Amala alone costing about $3 billion, with that money coming from the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund. As long as the rest of the money can be raised on time, Amala is set for a 2028 opening, creating about 22,000 jobs in the process. Number 5. The Grand Egyptian Museum. Let's face it, people have been obsessed with Egyptology forever. The ancient culture offers a rich history, fun mythology, and even the occasional fun yet harmless conspiracy theory. But with so many artifacts still standing and probably even more ready to be discovered, why not have a place to house everything that people can enjoy? Well, that's exactly what the Grand Egyptian Museum aims to do. Housing more than 100,000 artifacts, this mega project is on track to become the biggest archaeological venue on the planet. And while it was originally set to open in 2021, much like the rest of the world, the Grand Egyptian Museum came to a halt with the hopes of opening in 2022. But when that happens, visitors from far and wide can come appreciate King Tut's entire treasure trove. The Grand Egyptian Museum holds on to thousands of years' worth of the country's physical history, all the way from the pharaohs to the lesser-known Greek and Roman periods. There is a lot going on here, which is why it's taken nearly 2 decades for things to really wrap up. The entire project has a cost of $795 million to date, and oddly enough, it was an Irish architectural firm who won the bid to build the museum. Number 4. King Salman Park. Imagine being such a big deal that you have an entire park named after you before you've died. That's exactly the case with the King Salman Park in Saudi Arabia. King Salman Park is already running a bill of $20 billion in government funding and is still looking for another $15 billion in private investments. So needless to say, this is one ambitious mega project. It's 4 times the size of New York City's Central Park, stretching out over 5 square miles of space and sitting on the site of an old airport. The park will have its own stop on the metro and offer plenty of Islamic-themed architecture and gardens, including a butterfly conservatory, circular walkway, a 5-square-mile valley, and everyone's favorite, a labyrinth. But aside from some gorgeous nature, King Salman Park will also have both an indoor and outdoor theater as part of the arts section, and even 7 separate museums. But if for some reason arts and culture aren't really your thing, then there are still the luxury sports facilities that house space not just for things like golf, but even a 160,000 square yard water sports area. When King Salman Park is finally complete, hopefully by 2030, it's gonna be crazy. Number 3. Dubai's World Expo 2020 UAE. In 2021, Dubai made history by becoming the first Arab nation to host the World Expo. Located in the Dubai South District, the pavilion covered about 1.5 square miles of space and even featured its own metro line, which could bring 36,000 passengers to and from the airport in an hour. That's pretty impressive. And you would expect no less from a government that spends $7 billion on the entire megaproject. But the crown jewel of the project has got to be the 426-foot wide Terra Pavilion, which is completely covered in solar panels to show Dubai's commitment to sustainable energy to the rest of the world, and perhaps even set an example for the rest of us. And while the project was initially put on hold during the COVID-19 pandemic, Dubai did its best with the project, hedging its bets that it would stimulate the economy, which took such a tumble. But this project, coupled with so many of the other resorts and other mega projects in the works, there's no doubt that World Expo will help skyrocket the emirate into the future. Number 2. Diamond Tower. The penultimate entry on our list doesn't totally exist just yet, but it's on its way to becoming one of the most impressive buildings of any kind in the world. Construction on the Diamond Tower in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia began in 2016, but was unfortunately put on hold in July of 2020. But what makes the Diamond Tower so special? Well, the twisting tower is set to be 1,400 feet high with 93 stories, and will be Saudi Arabia's second tallest building, as well as one of the tallest residential buildings in the world. Imagine waking up to a morning sunrise on the 93rd floor. But the Diamond Tower was also designed to twist a full 360 degrees around from top to bottom, making it the first building in the world to do so. When this super skyscraper will actually be done is anybody's guess, but it is without a doubt one of the most ambitious architectural undertakings ever. Number 1. The World Islands. And now we get to move back over to Dubai for our final entry. Dubai's World Islands may sound like a fun idea, but if you take a moment to sit and really think about it, it's kind of lame and pointless. Composed of 300 man-made islands, one for each country, they're meant to look like a map of, you guessed it, the world. Construction began in 2003 and came to a grinding halt in 2008 after the financial crisis. And with 60% of the construction being done by private contractors, this project, while ambitious, was probably doomed from the start. And by 2021, only 9 of the 300 islands are ready for visitors and commercial use. They also require the sand to be moved to the area and require the volume equivalent of 150 pro baseball stadiums to make. But erosion and weather have made quick work of what was already put in place. The islands don't have their own source of electricity either, and the project to run cable under the Gulf was a bust too. The construction of these fake islands just decimates the local environment, destroying coral reefs and burying oyster beds, therefore killing off the local marine life at an alarming rate. This entire project cost $14 billion in a city with a poverty rate of 20%. Kind of a waste. Watch our binge-watching playlist if you'd like to watch all of our most popular top 15 videos. Grab a drink, grab a snack, and get ready to binge.